So let's talk about a strategy that a lot of advisors use and talk about. That is probably, if not our most sold strategy, one of the top ones. And you might know it as estate transfer, asset transfer, estate bond. It's all basically the same thing. It's clients that have done well in their life, business owners do not, have additional capital that they likely won't spend in their lifetime. And what is the best use of that money? So here's a picture that you might have seen in the past. And basically, you have an individual who's grown their money and is accessing it or will access it in retirement. But usually there's a little bit of money left over. And the traditional approach is they're just going to transfer that to the kids and grandkids through traditional investments. But we want to show them that there might be a better way to do it if you use an insurance policy. So basically, we're going to take some, if not all, of that money in the transfer stage here. We're going to put that into an insurance policy and we're going to show them what it looks like with and without it. So we're going to actually go into, if you're going to use Canada Life, which I hope you do, you're going to go into our software and you're going to need two things. You're going to need an illustration. So if you just click on any of these buttons here, that's going to pop out our illustration tool. You can prep an illustration and we're going to do that. But to show them the strategy, we also need to go under strategies here. And we're just going to use the top one here, and it's called Estate Transfer Plus. And you're going to open that up. And I've already actually opened it. It's going to open up this document here, and you can do a bunch of things. You can do estate transfer. You can do with policy loans and cash withdrawals if you want to, but we're just going to do the basic transfer. So I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to go launch, and it's going to bring us into this tool. You're going to set your province, if you're where I am, Ontario, and we're going to import data. So we're actually going to have to import an illustration. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our software here, and we're going to have to put in an illustration. So here's a quick case that I put together. I said, hey, we have Jack, 65, and Jill. They want to leave some money to their kids or their grandkids or something like that. And they have a good riff, and they're riffing about $10,000 a year, which is the minimum, and they're just reinvesting it, not spending it. So maybe we could show them a better solution for them. So what we'll do is we'll just go in here. We'll put in 65 male, 65 female. We're going to use our Wealth 10 Pay, which works very nicely for that age group. So I'm just going to leave that there. We're going to go to coverage. So we're going to make sure we have got joint last to die. You could do premiums to first death or last death. I'm just going to leave it at last death. And what I'll do is I'll change the premium frequency to annual, and I put just $10,000 in. So what this is going to do is going to create us an illustration for $10,000 a year for 10 years. And then we're going to stop that. So the next thing we do is we actually go to report options up here, and we come to the bottom where it says export data. And we're just going to click that button. And now we have the illustration that we can use. So if we come back to our Excel document, we can just go import data there, and that's going to import our illustration. Then you're going to put in the investment component. So this is what we want to compare to their current investment. A lot of times we look at the fixed income portfolio if they have one. And we can kind of compare to that. So basically, if their fixed income is probably earning over 3 or 4% today, and let's say their tax rate was 40%, that's what we're going to compare to. And we're going to run the numbers here. So it's pretty easy, pretty simple. And once you run those numbers, you're going to be able to export that to a PDF or print it out. And this is what it looks like, actually. So estate transfer, it's going to have the client names, which I don't have. And of course, it's going to have the advisor information. And then the second page is really the page that I like. It just talks about how taxes erode your wealth long term. You should keep more of your wealth and all the good stuff that we talk about. And so here are the numbers. So let me just zoom in a little bit here. So the $10,000 a year for 10 years, that's $100,000 of capital. So the question I think the client needs to answer is, if I leave that $100,000 in my current investment, what is it going to do relative to putting that in an insurance policy? So I ran the numbers at 3% at a 40% tax rate. So the investment amount over a 20-year window, so they're 65, we're comparing at age 85, would grow to $158,000 at 3%. But when we factor in the taxes they're going to have to pay during that time period, they're only left with about $132,000 net. Alternatively, that same amount of money into an insurance policy with the death benefit being paid out, that grows to $200,000. So we say your investments, $100,000 in nets you out to $132,000. Whereas life insurance, $100,000 in nets you out $200,000 for the exact same money. So when we go back to this diagram here, going, you know what, you have some money you're not going to spend, and you're just going to pass it on through traditional investments. you might you might be able to pass on more through insurance, and that's where our discussion gets really interesting. And then if we go to the next page, it actually explains why this happens. So this probably won't come as a surprise to a lot of you, but if you were looking at their non-registered investments, so in this case, someone taking the minimum withdrawal out of their RIF and reinvesting it, they're going to get hit with taxes every single year it creates income. And then on their death, they're going to get hit with a capital gains tax, and then it's having to go through their probate, or so it's going to go through their probate, their estate basically, and there's going to be another fee there. Alternatively, with a insurance policy, you put money into a life insurance policy. We all know that the gains inside those policies grow tax advantage, so no tax as long as it stays in there. And then the death benefit will pay out tax-free to the beneficiaries, bypassing the estate process and probate fees. So, more attractive from that end, a little bit less tax, a little bit easier estate planning. And then if you have some visually inclined clients that go, well, what about long-term? How does it do? Well, basically, you can see this line, this top line, that's the death benefit. At no point does the alternative investment even come close to it, right? It's always going to be higher. So we looked at year 20, but let's say they lived another 40 years, if that happens, into their early 100s. That same amount of money into that investment is going to grow to about 188,000 at the current rates. Who knows what the future rates will be? That same amount of money into the insurance policy grows to 338,000. So you're still 80% better. So any way you slice it, this is going to be a good investment option for them, for some of that safer money they want to pass on to the kids and grandkids. And so this is the document that a lot of advisors use. I know a lot of people like the first couple pages, like this one here, going 100 in, look how much more insurance is going to pay out. It's a really easy document to use. You can see now where it is in our illustration, our software. And you just need an illustration to put in there and run the numbers, and then it outputs this nice little document. So this is a really easy tool to use. Probably one of our most used tools. People love it. And so I just wanted to highlight that. If you have any questions at all, of course, make sure you reach out to me or someone on our team, and we can definitely guide you through this. But you'll find that this is an easy tool to use, that as you get into some of these client conversations with people who have done well, this is kind of what I would be talking about. Like, what do you want to do with your money? Have you looked at different options? And then you can show them why they might want to go with an insurance policy. And this document highlights it, right? You're going to have 52% more money if you go with this option. And the longer you live, then the percentage rate goes up, actually, as we see on this page, right? It starts at 52%, but as you live longer, you're going to have a larger proportion of money from the insurance policy relative to the traditional investment. And that's related actually to the product there. That's the 10-pay product we're using. So the longer you live, the better it looks. But either way, I'll stop the video here. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to help you out. Okay, thanks so much.